Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And you are joining me for my final pillar of Islam, the topic of Hajj this time. I've got a special guest, Mohammed Dockrat, who is the sales manager at Capital Legacy Wills and Estate Specialists. And we tied in this topic on the topic of Hajj because generally, as a traveler, we need to be updating our wills. We need to be taking cognizance of our finances and our profiles. And no better person than someone who's actually in the industry to assist and guide us. Assalamu alaikum, Mohammed, and welcome to the show.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thanks for having me.
So, I know you want to shed light on the Tazkiya Legacy Protection Plan, and I've been going through the profile of Capital Legacy. So you mentioned that drafting of wills, but we know this is it's a common feat amongst our Jamiat and the Sharia and non-Sharia. So we've got it at commercial banks. I want to focus rather on where you say it's a first of its kind takaful. So takaful is insurance. So you offer the first Sharia life cover in South Africa. Can you elaborate on that?
Yes. So in Capital Legacy started about 12 years ago. In 2021, when I joined 2021, we launched what we call Tazkiya. Tazkiya is the very first Sharia life cover in the country. It's there to assist Muslims with the inheritance and with moving forward of wealth. What happened is that, of course, we know that the general traditional life covers in the country are not halal. And therefore, a lot of people use it on a daruri basis, which was, well, there was two positions. The one, daruri, meaning that they can use it in the event of having high cost of estate, taking care of your estate duties and so on. And the other was that people are not allowed to use it. So this obviously put the Muslims at a kind of, in the backseat. It was something that wasn't very useful for us because we couldn't really make use of what we were actually paying for. So Capital Legacy came up with Tazkiya. Tazkiya now is growing on its own in terms of its own brand. I run the sales team across the country. And what we do is we ensure that when the person passes, we look at how that's going to affect the family, that's the surviving family, and what needs they have that we need to take care of in a financial model. The way it works, just from a basic FIC point of view, is that we use Takaful, which is a communal funding mechanism. So basically people, all of us that are part of it, put money into a pool, and when something happens to one of those members, we then will pay out to those beneficiaries. Now, the reason we do this and what we've done is we've housed it in a waqf. The reason we house the product in a waqf with most takaful products, especially here in South Africa, is simply because it removes two things from a person's zakat. And I've been getting a lot of queries this year for zakat and how do they actually calculate it. But the nice thing is because it's in a waqf, there's no zakat on that policy of yours. The other is that being in a waqf, it removes ownership from you, meaning it does not trigger the laws of inheritance. So thereby, husband can leave to his wife can leave to the husband, they can leave to the kids. There's various methods in which or various people that they can leave to. This allows the transfer of wealth, the taking care of the estate, and obviously because South Africa is not a Islamic country and the laws are not really adaptable to Islamic rule. What happens is we get taxed much heavier if a person goes into an Islamic will, simply because everything is not going to the spouse. In this case here, with the life cover going directly to the spouse, there's no taxation on it. So it helps the family kind of grow their wealth. It helps the family take care of the needs that the life cover can provide for.
I'm just going to come in there because I have a bit of training in Waqf. I worked for an organization that specialized in that type of and it's another word for a trust, right? It's an endowment. So you've mentioned that the insurance part, how it becomes halal, but I'm worried about the transparency process of how this money is invested, especially if there's no zakat being paid on it. Are people not just using it as a tool to diversify their portfolios in order to manage their money to avoid these taxes and these zakats? How do you control that governance?
So in this case here, the waqf is not on a family basis, right? So you're not going to have your own waqf. It's one waqf for the whole community of Muslims in South Africa.
Oh, right. Okay.
Own waqf board.
Right.
The funds are not really invested. They basically just sit in an Islamic account with very little investment. There's no real investment portfolio to this monies.
And then the growth there?
So the growth will come from the general income premiums being paid on a month-to-month basis.
Okay.
If
Okay.
this month we did 200 sales, next month we do another 200 sales, it's this month sales plus next month sales, all the premiums that will be collated over a period of time, and that's what grows the work of. I mean, you can imagine the exponential income that you look at if when you start off from the first month of running a work of like this, and every you sign up 100 clients, everyone puts in 100 to 1,000 rand. The next month similar thing happens. By the end of the year you have quite a large sum of money.
So, in my understanding of this Wakaf pool, surely there'll be more beneficiaries at one time than the other. Will there always be sufficient funds to pay out these beneficiaries, or are funds sourced from other areas of investing? Or
Yeah, so like I said, there's no investment, but like all insurance companies, and because these are FSCA regulations, what we do is we have a pool of funds that the contributors will put into. So all the Muslims that are paying towards it, if this fund runs dry, for instance,
mm,
there will be a loan given from Capital Legacy itself, which is a normal procedure in terms of insurance in the country, or most insurance anyway. If one of the other companies have to start off a new product, they would have a pool of funds that everyone will contribute to. When there's a need for claims, they will use their major fund. It won't come from that fund, it will come from a major fund. The
mm,
reason this happens is that, and we have obviously a relation with Capital Legacy whereby we do not pay any interest for the money that will come into the fund. So if they put, let's say, 15 million into that fund, we do not pay them interest on it. It's a pure zero rated loan. So we'll pay
okay.
them back the principal.
So when I was reading on the history of Capital Legacy, I read an article about the merger with the Sannam commercial, and we all know them as the administrators. And I mean, there was faith in certain brands at some point, and so you can understand the skepticism when you come with new products and then new divisions and this process. Surely the layperson will be a bit nervous. So when this Islamic division came into existence, was there any Shura Council or advisory board from our alims, especially in our country of South Africa?
Yes, so everyone is from this country. We have a panel of three muftis that run the Sharia board, and we have three muftis that run the Waqf. So they're the wakils of the trust. Basically, we have Mufti Ahmed Suleiman, Mufti Yusuf Suleiman, and Mufti Zaid Hospital, who's the Sharia body. We have Mufti Muhammad Kam, Mufti Shafiq Jakura, and Mufti Saleh Beck as our wakils.
Okay, lovely. Some of the names very familiar to us in the community,
Exactly.
and yeah, so I think that also gives us a bit of trust because it should be regulated not only commercially but also within the secular of Islam as well. Um, Talking
So
on that,
just to go into that, just for a short while, the
mm,
idea is obviously that firstly, Sanlam does create the trust that people usually would find, right, and that we find in the market. But the other side is what the Sharia side. Even our wills are audited by the Mufti board. So when I
okay,
do a draft of will for yourself, for instance, end
yeah.
of the year there'll be a certain amount. Your will may be part of the audit, and the audit will take place to see if everything was done correctly, as according to Sharia.
Okay, so in this Tazkiya, do you have independent financial advisors that are purely appointed for Tazkiya, or do you have them as consultants of Capital Legacy? How does it work? Are you guys a division with a proper sales team and a financial advisory specific to Tazkiya products, or is it just part of the Capital Legacy group and anyone can consult?
No, so we have specific Sharia consultants. That's the team
Mm,
that I run. So the Tazkiya consulting team. We have a few of us across the country, a very small team for now. But what we do is we do have certain advisors that are on the traditional side of insurance, meaning that they can actually sign their own products. So those that we've trained up from the inception of the product in 2021. But the
mm.
majority is it's a referral base. So also all new brokers, for instance, will come to us, send us the lead. My consultant will go out to that client, speak to the client, see what's needed, and then give the policies and things as needed.
Okay, perfect. So my final question, if you could just give the listeners out there a step by step, how do we go about getting this legacy protection plan from you guys?
So if you have a financial advisor, you can obviously speak to them and ask them about it. If they're part of our panel, they can then send a lead through. The other way is you can go on to Capital Legacy or tazkiya.co.za, and you can log your profile on your details on there. We will contact you with an appointment. And then from there, we will set up a date with you. It can be either face to face, which we prefer, obviously,
Yeah.
and the other is virtual or telephonic.
Okay, lovely. So it seems like an easy process. Do you have any apps or any new technology that we can, browse through? Or is that it's work in
So
progress?
we do have some apps. No, we do have apps. Well, the app is not still out. We're busy working on that. We're working actually at Capital Legacy. They're working quite a bit of the innovation part of the world, so people can go on and put certain changes in if they'd like, make recommended changes for their worlds, and then one of the consultants will contact them and do that. With the Sharia worlds, though, things are very simple.
Mm,
Because there's not much that goes into it in terms of who's going to get what unless you're leaving a wasiya.
great.
So that's
Right.
it's quite simple. Obviously, what we do is we consult and we give advice in terms of how that's going to affect your family, who's going to get what, the tax implications, the cost of the estate. Something that people don't realize in terms of estates and wind up of estates, thinking that I do my will and that's it. No, there's still huge amounts of cost that comes and cost implication to the families, especially when there's minor children. So what we do is we give you the full value of all of that, telling you exactly how much it's going to cost your family and your kids to take care of them if they were minors and trusts are needed. And what we do from there is then we would give a policy that will take care of those costs. And if there's a need for life cover, then we will issue them with the life cover policy.
No, Alhamdulillah, I think it's so beneficial to have someone like you on to educate us. We had our zakat show recently, and there were so many elements of zakat that people were ignorant about, assuming that we just have to calculate our net zakatable assets. There were things like anniversary dates that we didn't know. There were things like exclusions of pension funds, which we didn't know. And Alhamdulillah, having guests like you, I think, who are in the financial fiscus industry, will give us a bit of insight as to how to manage our funds. And it's usually beneficial to us in terms of our portfolio management. Where are you
Thank you.
based, Mohammed?
So I'm in Kilani, but our offices are in Bryanston. But like I said, we have offices in Western Cape, Natal, a few of the other provinces as well, and I have consultants across the country. So to meet
Okay,
with.
Alhamdulillah. So, inshallah, we will share the details on the Salam Media website as well as on our social media. But I appreciate your time. Any final words, before we close the interview, Mohammed?
Just something that people need to kind of consider when dealing with their estates is it's always very important for people to understand what we do when we come out to see them. It's also important that people understand what are the Sharia implications to these things, and obviously that's something that will come through as we go through with our consultants and so on. But other than that, I do wish everyone happy Eid Mubarak, and as well as the last few days of Ramadan. To Allah give you all barakah.
Ameen. Jazakallah so much for your time today, and we will chat again, inshallah. We're going to
Inshallah.
now head over to an ad break before continuing on the topic of Hajj.